see you. We're getting a few people here. That's a nice thing.
Hello. Hi. Good evening. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Washtenaw Bird and Nature Alliance's monthly program. Wow, we have a great crowd. This is fantastic. I love it. We got a big crowd here at the library, and we have folks joining us on YouTube Live and folks that will be joining us on the YouTube recording out into the future. So hello, future people. The world is great. I'm really excited about today's program, and I'll talk about that in just a moment, but I want to talk about a couple other things, and I'm going to be a lot more brief than I normally am for two reasons. One, I'm really excited to hear from Jack, and two, I'm going to bring Carl Brenner up here to talk a little bit about Jack. He knows him better than I do, and I think we'll do a better job introducing Jack and sort of setting the stage for what we're going to talk about tonight. But before we do that, I want to just do a couple of housekeeping things. Some upcoming events. I'm going to mention a couple specific upcoming events, but I also want to just generally let you know that keep an eye on the events calendar. We're at a point now where you're soon probably going to start seeing a lot of things being added. We've got a lot of plans. We're planning some trips we haven't done before outside of Ann Arbor, and James Weir, the new field trip chair, has a lot of enthusiasm and has been doing a wonderful job, and it's really exciting to see all the things he's coming up with. So stay tuned and keep an eye on that events calendar. There'll be more coming. What we do have scheduled is this on Sunday, February 22nd. We have our monthly ecological restoration workday at our preserve. Those of you who don't know, Washtenaw Bird Nature Alliance owns a 50-acre nature preserve just about a mile south of Rolling Hills Metro Park, and we are engaged in doing ecological restoration there, and so we have volunteer work days every month to continue to try to improve the habitat there to make it better for birds and all the other animals and flora that we love. So I encourage you to come, check the website. No experience necessary. It's a lot of fun, a little work, but very rewarding. And in a world as it is today, it's nice to have something you can go out and do and make a real difference right there, and you know that what you did that day will make a real and tangible difference very soon. I also wanted to point ahead to the March program, which I'm excited about, where we'll be having Ray Stocking. A lot of you may know Ray, former president of Washtenaw Bird Nature Alliance, former board member at Michigan Audubon. He will be doing a talk on celebrating 20 years of peregrine falcons in Ann Arbor, which sounds really cool. I'm excited for that. So again, check that events calendar. But now on to the show. I'm going to ask Carl to come up to introduce Jack, and we're going to talk about two things, the BirdSong Preserve and the Sibley Prairie. And the one thing I did want to say before Carl comes up that I do know is that if you're a birder or someone who likes to drive it most anywhere east of Ann Arbor, say Godfredson or any of those roads out there, you likely have encountered nature preserves or habitat or birds that are relying on habitat that Jack Smiley had a hand in setting aside, preserving, and conserving. So birders in particular, I think, owe Jack a debt of gratitude. So Carl, take it away. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I'm pretty honored to introduce Jack Smiley tonight. Introducing Jack could take a long time, trying to list all of his many achievements. So I'll try to keep it a little brief and focus a little bit. He's been doing this and Jack, correct me if if I'm getting any of the facts wrong here or anything, but you've been doing this for more than 60 years. Started with things like the Friends of River Rouge in Southeast Michigan. He was involved in the Detroit Audubon Society, and Jack's a pretty good birder. I've been on some bird trips that he led, and he's an excellent birder. But probably the biggest achievement was the founding of Southeast Michigan Land Conservancy, SMLC, you guys might know that. And they, over the years, Jack has led that for 20 years as the president, and then longer still on the board. So many, many years. And I think the original goal of that, Jack, was to preserve natural areas and slow the sort of, at times, unbridled development that could happen in southeast Michigan. And they've really had an incredible record over the years, Southeast Michigan Land Conservancy. This is sort of hard to believe, but I believe you've preserved, there's 18 preserves, 15 I read this somewhere, 15 conservation easements in like 7 counties in southeast Michigan. Is that right, Jack? Is that?
It's more like 22 preserves, but we transferred some.
Okay, even more. Just incredible amount that you guys have done in this area. And probably the one you guys all know is their largest is the Superior Greenway, which is, Matt mentioned, it's in the sort of east side of Superior Township. It's all along Prospect Road there. And Jack has created these incredible corridors, natural corridors. So that one starts with north of Ford Road. There are preserves, extends into, you guys have probably been to some of these, Kosh Preserve, Jack Smiley Preserve, appropriately named, and then down to like Lafarge Woods. And in many areas, you can walk all the way through these. They're trying to connect all these, so these incredible corridors. So that was kind of their biggest project. Jack has, I think, this incredible ability to bring people together, organizations, government, financial providers, even sometimes using his own money for some of these, and he to create these, save these incredible places that we have. So really, really owe Jack a lot of gratitude for all he's done for us. So several of us saw Jack give this talk at the Superior Township Hall. He is working with Superior Township, and he's created the latest is the BirdSong Preserve. It's again going to be a large corridor that well, he'll tell you more about it, but you guys probably already know. It runs from just south of Cherry Hill Preserve in Cherry Hill all the way south, and it's going to go all the way to Getty's Road. I think when it's completed, combined with Cherry Hill, it's going to be like 640 acres or something like that. Just an incredible, another corridor that he's created. And our group, our members are already, frequenting that place. I think there were several different texts about it on our chat this week alone, and it's sort of become a hot spot already. And so we'll hear more about that coming up. So, so several of us saw the talk, and so we thought you guys should all hear it. And we also have Jack talking about, he has moved on to his next project already, like he is wont to do, and that's Save Sibley Prairie, and this is with the Michigan Land Conservancy that he's created. So we're fortunate to hear about both those tonight. Okay? So let's give a warm welcome to Jack, and really appreciate him for all he's done. Thanks, Jack.
Okay. Well, thanks, Carl. Oops.
Yeah, are you going to be on that?
I will, but maybe I can
take
hold
that
this for now.
Yeah.
When he asked me to speak, he wanted me to give a presentation about birdsong, and I was prepared to do that. But then when the Sibley Prairie project came up, I thought, I got to put a plug in for Sibley Prairie. So you're going to have a short presentation on both, and hopefully we can get things rolling. Oh, I'll add that, I'm still on the board of Detroit Bird Alliance. I've been on that board for over 30 years, and I'm chair of their sanctuary committee, and we are involved in land preservation as well. So, See if I can. Aha, it's working. So I'm going to talk about the new corridor we have in Superior Township. And it's just east of Ann Arbor. And you can see it's a rather large expanse. And you can see where US 23 runs. And on a regional perspective, it's available to a lot of people in southeast Michigan. So it's great to have this new corridor under development. So you'll probably know the Cherry Hill Nature Preserve. This is on the northern part of the corridor. This is an existing 160-acre preserve, and I bought that 30 years ago and 2 months ago through the Southeast Michigan Land Conservancy. And that's a half mile by a half mile, and it's a great birding habitat. And I'm sure many of you have been there. So there's quite a few trails through the property. We're trying to keep some of the open areas. We do have bluebirds out there and quite a few other grassland bird species. And we have great glacial moraines. It's one of our more scenic preserves in Superior Township. And there's a stream corridor that runs through there. We have a pretty good swamp in that area too. And if you were out there when the emergence of the cicadas, it was really one of the epicenters in southeast Michigan for cicadas. And maybe you'll need to stick around for another 15 years for the next one, but it was really something to, each cicada doesn't make much noise, but when you have millions of them calling at once, it's just deafening. It was really exciting to be there. So it's a great place to explore. And as I mentioned, we're trying to keep some of the open areas open and not let them all go back into woods. And we're trying to tackle some of the invasive species. There's quite a bit of buckthorn there. And I am now on the Parks Commission for Superior Township. So I have a more active role in trying to manage this property. So immediately south of Cherry Hill Preserve, as Carl mentioned, is what is now the BirdSong Nature Preserve. And we think it's an appropriate name given the habitats and the birds that you can find out there. And it's actually in two parts right now. We haven't yet transferred the 162 acres to Superior Township yet. I bought that 4 years ago through the Michigan Land Conservancy. The township was trying to buy the property to the south at that time, and they asked if I might be able to try to secure that property so they could acquire it later on. So I was glad to do that. And when it first came up for sale, it seemed rather daunting because they were asking $2.2 million for it. And I didn't have that in my back pocket, so I wasn't sure how we were going to do that. But we negotiated a sale, and he did agree to sell it to us for $1 million, and he took a tax deduction for the appraised value, the difference between that and the appraised value. So it worked out pretty well. I got a few friends that loaned me a little money, so we borrowed everything for the $1 million, and we were able to purchase it within about a month's time of negotiations. So it too is a half mile by a half mile, and some really nice habitats. And our preliminary concept plan is just to keep it as is. It's about half farmland right now, and we'll be having about 3 miles of walking trails in there. And the plan is to convert the farmlands into grassland habitat. So it should be a really attractive place for a lot of grassland birds. And we have a lot of site amenities we plan. Just a simple parking lot, hopefully a campsite, some areas for kids to be involved in. So it's a really exciting opportunity to see this change. We'll be taking 2 fields out of production next year. We've been working with Ducks Unlimited and the Fish and Wildlife Service to get some native plant seeds to plant. And so over the next 2 years, we'll be gradually removing the rest of the farmland. So after 2 years' time, the entire farm fields will be natural native cover. So we're looking forward to that. So here's just a few shots. We we included these photos in our trust fund grant application, and luckily we were successful getting the trust fund grant. So we will be selling, quote unquote, selling it to Superior Township, and Superior Township is not putting up any money to acquire it, but we're donating, we've been able to secure much of the local match to help them acquire it from us. And hopefully we can pay back the people that loaned us money. So on the property, it's great amphibian habitat. There's 51 acres of wetlands, marsh, forested, scrub, and vernal ponds. We've got some really great salamanders out there, a lot of frogs. Go out there some spring evening, and it's really a sound to behold. We get lots of flocks of wild turkeys out there, pileated woodpeckers out there. We've had occasional reports of barred owls. You'll often see the red-tailed hawks. Oops, going the wrong way. And we also have a bald eagle nest site out there. And I'm not sure if they'll be back this spring. I hope so. I'm not actually sure if they've fledged young, but they've been out there for the last 3 or 4 years. So hopefully they'll be successful one of these days. So we do hope to have youth camps, day camps out there for kids, maybe some evening programs, and possibly even get some camping on a small portion of the preserve. So the south part of BirdSong Nature Preserve is currently owned by Superior Township, and this is where we've also started to do some restoration. It's mostly, well, much of it is open farmland. There's a nice 40 acres of woods, nice old growth forest with some nice vernal ponds too. And we've started planting wild native plant seeds. And this is from Vreeland Road, still mostly all agriculture. And we will continue farming for the next few years and perhaps gradually remove that from farming as well. But our initial focus will be on the northern 162 acres as far as restoration. And the part along Vreeland Road will be the last to be converted to grassland habitat. So it's nice, gently rolling terrain. And of course, a lot of people probably have been out to what they call the floodle, I guess. So, so a lot of shorebirds here, good place to go. And it's at this corner we'll be doing some amenities, have a small parking lot. So along Vreeland Road we'll have a parking lot, an observation deck, and this will be our trail system. We probably won't have this many trees in the field, but probably just a few oak trees we'll plant, more an open oak savanna type habitat. It won't be a true savanna, but kind of emulate that a bit. And we do have bobolinks and dickcissels and other birds in the area already. So the parking lot, we were hoping to have that installed this year, but we had a little bit of delay on our federal grant that was going to pay for it. I think Elon Musk thought we were not a good program, so our grant was paused. But then they finally did say they're going to fund it, but we're still working with the feds to release the money so we can get started. And this is where we'll have the observation deck. We'll have a kiosk there for informational materials. There's a potential deck. This is at the preserve across from Cherry Hill Township Hall. And the observation deck will be overlooking the wetland here where the shorebirds like to gather. We also hope to do a butterfly and pollinator garden, and hopefully that can be started this spring. And we'll probably use plugs for a lot of that and maybe some seeds, but hopefully we'll attract quite a few butterflies and insects to this location. And we want to especially get kids involved to to plant the garden. And then we can use that as a seed source when we collect seeds to spread through the farm fields. So that's pretty much our basic plan. And for 2025, we didn't finish everything we wanted to do because of the delay with the grant, but we did take the easternmost or the westernmost 250 feet out of production. We first marked it off with orange stakes, and everything to the left of these stakes we let go natural. We had it plowed up and then planted seeds. We didn't get around to planting seeds until June, but they seemed to take quite well, and I'm sure there's quite a few other things that came up on their own. And that attracted birders immediately, it seemed. It said some intrepid birders, and Carl, I think, is hiding behind the drill. But we had quite a few. How many bluebird houses did you end up putting up?
We have 5 right now.
5?
More on the way.
Yeah, 2 were put up initially in early June, and we had successful fledging of bluebirds. They had 4 young ones, I think, fledged, and I was surprised that they found the boxes so quickly. That was a nice surprise. So hopefully in maybe about 3 years' time, we'll get quite a few more flowers out there and be able to get kids walking on the trails, and hopefully a lot of birders will enjoy it as well. So south of the BirdSong Preserve, the township owns another 141 acres, and that will be our Superior Township community farm. We're going to keep that in agriculture, and we'll probably lease it out to a local farmer for the next few years, and perhaps down the road we'll transition some of that to have more community farmers or some type of program where it's not just one farmer farming the property. So it's a real good farmland, we're told, and we also plan to eventually have a trail from Vreeland Road that will connect down to Geddes Road. That won't be for a while because there's really no good access off of Geddes Road right now. It's a busy road, as you know, and we'd have to develop a parking situation there, and also maybe a trail system that would connect to there. So that's will take some time to develop that trail. But this will be the site. We're reserving about 5 to 10 acres at most for farm buildings, and we might either move a barn or build a barn there, perhaps create a maintenance building so we can have store our equipment there. We'll probably have a couple of hoop houses so we can have community members extend the growing season. Here's a hoop house in Canton, and we'll have similar ones, perhaps bigger, at the Superior Community Farm. And we've been in discussions with Growing Hope and other organizations to try to partner to make sure we can utilize this as best as possible. We also hope to have community gardens at the site. So that's pretty much what we plan for the community farm, and we just want to make sure we have an agricultural presence. And I sometimes feel a little uneasy about taking too much farmland out of production because we do need farmland, and so we need to protect both farmland and protect natural areas. So here's the site where we hope to have the few buildings we may construct looking north towards Vreeland Road and looking up towards Cherry Hill Road. So we have quite a few facilities and improvements we plan to make, but nothing that will be intrusive. We want to really limit the footprint of those. So we'll have just a couple acres up by Cherry Hill Road, maybe an acre or so down by Vreeland Road, and 5 to 10 acres south of Vreeland Road. So most of the land, out of 624 acres total, will be kept totally natural. And of course, it's a good opportunity to have a number of different programs. In fact, if you know of somebody that would like to do a program, out there. We could probably offer some compensation to make sure we have a wide range of programs at the property to try to get more kids and more people out there. So we'll have Cherry Hill Preserve, BirdSong Preserve, and Superior Township Community Farm, all in a corridor that stretches for a little over 2 miles. So I'm really pleased we were able to put this together, and it kind of complements what we've been able to do over the last 30 years. We've been busy trying to protect land in Superior Township, so all the properties in green are public parks and nature preserves, and the properties in yellow are properties that are farmland properties that are protected with conservation easements. So they aren't open to the public except through invitation, but they will be protected and not developed. So as you know, Superior Township is a pretty nice place to go for nature walks and birding. As an oasis, it seems to concentrate wildlife quite a bit, especially migratory birds. It's one of the best spots around for raptors. And I've enjoyed being able to protect some of these properties, and I just wish I could protect more. Any questions?
Okay, I had to make sure the YouTube folks could hear us. Thanks, Jack. We're gonna have 2 presentations. We're gonna do questions after each. I don't know, you may have mentioned that, but so we have some time for questions. We'll do it into the mic so the YouTube audience can hear. George.
That sounds really great. Is there funding secured for the restoration work? There's a lot of, it looks like you've got a lot of farmland you want to convert to grassland, and that doesn't happen for free and takes a lot of work.
Yes, we've got quite a bit of funding secured. We've got about $225,000 that's relatively secure. We've got some money from Ducks Unlimited that we're putting into this. The federal money is through the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Foundation, so that's probably about $125,000, and that should be a good start. But it's going to be a gradual process over a few years. So our focus will be next year we have to do about $125,000 in seeding, and we're also doing some, hopefully some minor modifications to bring back some of the wetlands. We've noticed just from aerial photos that there are some drain tiles that we think we can just break up and return. I do not like the regular process of digging up stuff and trying to create wetlands that way. It's much better if you just use what's naturally there. And so we're going to try to limit it to breaking drain tiles. I know DU wants to dig up a lot, but we'll try to limit that as much as we can.
Thanks, Jack. Other questions? Okay. Oh, there we go. I was going to say I have one. What do you think? But Juliet.
Hi, Jack. I wanted to thank you so much for everyone in our county. And has anybody seen what happens as soon as you drive out of Washtenaw County, you cross Ridge Road, and you're in Wayne County, and there are housing developments after housing developments and parking lots and shopping
Yeah,
centers.
unfortunately, they're right up to the county line.
They
now.
are right up to the county line, so the next time you're out at Freeland Road, you can really see what Jack's initiatives have preserved in our county. And that's sort of more of a comment, but think about that for folks who want to see the impact of all this land preservation, both preserving the agricultural character of Superior Township and the natural areas there.
Yeah, urban sprawl, to me, is the biggest problem we've had it's destroyed our cities and it's destroyed our countryside at the same time. And I used to say that I grew up in the country and later lived in the city. The only problem is I didn't move, the city did. I grew up in Brownstown Township, which became the city of Westland, and we used to have open fields behind our house. I didn't realize that at the time, but that was prairie back there. We used to find earth stars and all kinds of neat stuff, but I didn't recognize it as prairie when I was a 6-year-old kid or whatever. But,
Other questions? You have a question? Yeah.
I do have.
What's your question?
I want to be involved. I want to help. I want to work, serve. I got time on my hands.
Yeah.
I think what you're doing is amazing. I'm very impressed, and I'm new around here in Ann Arbor. I've lived in Michigan all my life, but I just moved to Ann Arbor 2 weeks ago, and I really like Ann Arbor. They saved my life, actually, back in 2000. But I'm looking forward to doing some community service, helping. I know how to grow things. I've been a grower. I'm growing the best marijuana anyone ever smoked. So. And one of my best friends is Steve Gross. He's got a Green Eagle farm out in Onondaga, Michigan. And he's had that farm for probably 45 years now. And he contributes to the community. He sells produce at the markets around Lansing, and he's a great guy. I'm thinking about him right now. And
What's your name?
my name is Scott.
Scott?
Yeah.
Scott, that's a great question because I was just going to ask a very similar question. So thank you for that.
I want to serve.
Jack, yeah. What can we do to help? Like with BirdSong?
With some dogs that need help.
Sure. So what can the public, people listening, people hear, as far as, we'll talk about Sibley next, but as far as BirdSong's concerned, how can we help?
As far as birdsong, we'll probably wait until the township acquires the next 162 acres before we reach out to do more volunteer work on it. We'll probably have volunteer work removing invasive species. We'll request volunteers to help with our butterfly gardens.
So keep an eye on WashtenautBNA.org, and as soon as that is something that Jack needs, we'll put it out there as an event and/or a news piece and let everybody know. Okay. Other questions? Okay. Yeah, Alexis.
Hi, Jack. Alexa Signs. I've interacted with you a couple times at the Farm Conservancy. With a little bit of background in natural resources and ecology, I wonder what was the process of deciding where to put the trails, if you just kind of stuck to hedgerows or if there was a little bit of input on aesthetic affordances or whatever other decision-making criteria were evaluated.
Well, we wanted to provide a little bit of diversity, but mostly they're along the hedgerows, and then we'll have some through the fields and some through the woods. But we didn't want to disturb too much, so we're keeping them more along the hedgerows, and it offers some nice views in different directions. Not a lot of science in it, mostly where do we think it would be a good trail?
I have a question about the farmland and the farming aspect of this. Is there consideration, I mean, two questions really. I know the U.S., is the Forest Service? Out in, where I'm from in North Dakota, we have a couple of national grasslands out there. And their practice, when they acquire land to bring into that, is they farm it for, I think, 5 years. Maybe it's 3, I don't remember. Using Roundup as a prep to seed it as a prairie. Is there any thoughts about keeping this farmland in rotation for those reasons? And then also I had a question about potential like revenue for the project as far as the vis-a-vis the farmland.
Well, the farmland, unfortunately, we can't get much revenue by leasing it out because when we lease it out to farmers, they have to pay property taxes on it. So that negates any income because property taxes, it's wrong. They should allow municipalities or even nonprofits to lease out protected land and keep the revenue. But whenever a for-profit entity is using nonprofit tax-exempt land, they have to pay the equivalent what property taxes would be. which is really high.
Okay. Thank you. If there's no other questions, I think we'll move on and hear about BirdSong.
All right.
I mean, Sibley Prairie, sorry.
Sibley. Save Sibley Prairie.
Save Sibley.
Last July, I found out that Sibley Prairie, at least the 440 acres, the largest part of it, was up for auction. And we had been aware of this for the last 30 years. Michigan Natural Features Inventory had did a study, and they identified it as the largest, highest quality remaining lake plain prairie in the entire state. And so when it came up for auction, well, it had been up for sale. They were asking around 10 million, and I just didn't see a way to protect it that way with 10 million. But when they put it up for auction, they had a minimum bid of 2 million, but I knew they weren't going to accept 2 million. So we quickly negotiated with them and got them to pull it from the auction. And I actually had to pay $1 million for that option. So we have a year to buy it for a price of 6 million. And so that's why I wanted to bring this to the fore, because we need all the help we can get to do this. So let me quickly go through these slides, and let's see if we can save Sibley Prairie. So as I mentioned, this is the one of the highest quality, or the highest quality, remaining lake plain prairie in the state. It has an exceptional floristic quality index of nearly 70, and anything over 40 is really an outstanding property. So we have currently about 11 groups or 13. We've got a couple more that are in the wings that are hoping to join. I think the Rotary Club will be joining as a coalition member soon. And we have a number of groups that are just providing letters of support. So if your organization wants to be a coalition member or just provide letters of support, either would be most welcome. So the coalition members run from the Detroit Bird Alliance to the Wayne County Conservation District. The Conservation District is the only government entity that we have in the coalition, but they've been very helpful. And everybody just chips in and helps as much as they can. We've really been blessed with a lot of really hardworking people. It's a lot of volunteers working together to try to protect this. So we're meeting, we have committees that meet weekly, and we have a steering committee that meets monthly. So there's many rare species on the property. We've got at least 15 plant species, and we've got the American bumblebee, state endangered, Duke skipper butterflies, state threatened, and we have mostly plant species that have been found on the property. And we haven't done a real thorough inventory, but these are from the early studies from MNFI. So it's a globally rare ecosystem, and for a state ranking, it's critically imperiled. And as you likely know, we lost over 90% of our prairie. Now, we've been emphasizing the prairie aspect, but the land, the 440 acres, is probably the largest private natural area left in Wayne County. And there's a lot of tremendous species that rely on this. Remarkably, 6 out of the 9 bat species found in Michigan can be found in Sibley Prairie. So the location is in southern Wayne County in Brownstown Township. The square mile we're looking most closely at is Section 8 in Brownstown Township, not far from downtown Detroit or not far from Metro Airport. So we have 440 acres under option, and as I mentioned, we have until this December to buy it. So there are other protected properties nearby. There's 3 parcels owned by the state as part of the state wildlife area, and Eagle, the Department of Energy and Great Lakes, they have 3 properties with conservation easements on them. Superior Land Conservancy, or Southeast Michigan Land Conservancy, owns 2 parcels. Michigan Nature Association owns a couple parcels. So it will form a nice block if we can get this 440 acres protected. It has been noted that it's within the Brownstown Prairie State Wildlife Area, the Fritz property that we're trying to buy. And unfortunately, the state hasn't been very aggressive at trying to buy land to fill out their project boundaries. I had a friend that used to work in the DNR, and he was the one pretty much responsible for buying the properties that the DNR now owns. And we've been trying to get the DNR to get more involved, but they don't seem to want to protect more land in southeast Michigan. They say they have their hands full. So we're reaching out to Brownstown Township, and hopefully they can come through with a trust fund grant. So many people don't realize that Prairie used to stretch from Detroit all the way down to south of Toledo. It was the oak openings region, so we had a mosaic of habitats. We had lakeplain wet prairie, we had oak savanna, we had forest, we had dunes. It's a really nice mix of habitats. And Sibley Prairie is towards the northern part of this extent. And this is from the pre-settlement vegetation maps. The purplish color is the lakeplain wet prairie, which comprises pretty much what Sibley Prairie used to be, that extent. So we also have 158 acres of wetlands on the property. So it has a lot of good vernal ponds. It probably has wonderful amphibian populations, even though we haven't yet had a chance to explore those, because it is still private property, and they do not like us on the property too much, even though they have been pretty good to let us on to do some initial survey work. So Sibley Prairie, this is from Dennis Albert. He was the lead ecologist when MNFI did their study back in 1995. Within a few hundred feet of busy Telegraph Road, one could be surrounded by a magical garden of asters, goldenrods, lupin, ironweed, milkweeds, mountain mint, coreopsis, Indian plantain, prairie dock, lobelia, and many more, within a matrix of tall Indian grass, cordgrass, and big bluestem, a gardener's delight, emulated in many of the most famous botanical gardens. And I thought he summed it up quite well. It's just a remarkable place to go. And I'll show you some of the photos of the Sibley Prairie. Here's some little bluestem, some big bluestem, and a lot of asters. Lots of prairie grasses, broom grass. Blazing stars are perhaps one of my favorite prairie flowers. And as I mentioned, it's a matrix of habitat, so we have small patches of prairie, and some have become overgrown, so we'll be clearing those out, hopefully. But it's also good to have the different habitats in close juxtaposition. Got ladies' tresses and fringed gentian, had to remember. Got ironweed and seed box on the right. Some goldenrod and asters. It's just amazing that monarch butterflies, which used to be so common, are now almost an endangered species. And we do have some butterfly milkweed there, which is a good host plant. I think photos work better than words sometimes. A lot of wonderful asters, wild bergamot. And hopefully we'll get a chance to explore the property more and get even more photos. We need more of the wildlife on the property. But this is just an irreplaceable resource, and we have a one-time opportunity to protect it. There is a lot of forest on the site, which does provide diversity. And there's just a treasure trove of nature on this property. So this, in a nutshell, is Sibley Prairie. And we have a plan, hopefully, to acquire it. We need to pay a little more than $6 million for the acquisition, and we hope to set up an endowment to provide for its perpetual maintenance. And of course, we want to do some restoration and some property readiness to make it available to the public. So we've got a goal of $9.7 million. And we don't need to raise that all this year, but we certainly need to raise at least $6 million to acquire it this year. And we do have some backup plans if we don't raise it. We hopefully will be able to finance some of it. So, excuse me. We do have a very good shot, but we certainly need lots of support. So far, we've gotten nearly 1,000 individual donations from all across Michigan and also from 31 states across the U.S. So we do have some broad-based support, which should help us as we go to the foundations. And we're hoping to get ready to do that in the next couple months. We've made some preliminary contacts. We've got a couple grant applications in already. And most of it has been focusing on trying to get individual donations at this point. And quite a few groups have stepped up with some nice donations as well. So if you got your phone out, do the QR code. We do have some posters here that if you want to take some, if you know of a bulletin board that you can put up a poster about Sibley Prairie, please feel free to take some. But we didn't really design it as an individual handout, but we want to maybe post these at public places so more people can know about Sibley Prairie. And our website is savesibleyprairie.org. So it's relatively easy to remember. And you can make online donations. And for larger donations, we encourage you to send in a check. So more of it goes to Sibley Prairie and not to credit card fees. And if you send in a check, please include your email so we can send out email notices and not have to spend money on postage. So, any questions?
There we go. Okay. Thanks, Jack.
Oh, also, I add, if we raise more than we need, we're going to use it to buy more land or do more restoration. And we really want to acquire more land in the area once we get this one protected, because there are some nice parcels available. This one just happens to be the largest and the most diverse, the most critical to protect, and it's also the most expensive. So we got to start with this one, I guess.
Thanks, Jack. Before I open up for questions, I have a couple of comments I wanted to make and an announcement to make. So I just want to sort of drive home the importance of what's happening here and maybe provide a little bit of context and not take too much time. So most of you probably know this, but I'm going to say it anyway because some may not. Prairies in general are an endangered ecosystem. I mean, it was mentioned already. Globally, what did I see? 90% of all prairies globally are gone. It's gone, right? So once they're gone, it's really hard to get them back. And it's probably not going to happen in our lifetime from a restoration standpoint to what it was. North America, 50 million acres in the last 10 years have been lost. That was really surprising to me. Maybe 12 years, because I think this article was written in 23 or 24. So it's continuing to happen, right? This is not an old problem, losing prairies. Now we're just trying to fix it. We lost 50 million acres in the last 10 years, right? And 93% of the remaining prairies in North America are unprotected and at risk of conversion and other things that lead to taking them out of their natural state. So I guess I say all that and just to drive this home, and that you hear me get up and talk about the importance of ecological restoration, you talk about the importance of habitat, and plants and insects and all these other things that as it relates to birds, and that without these things, we will not have birds to look at. Without what Jack has done out east of Ann Arbor, many of you probably may not have had some of the lifers that you've had, right? So I want to drive that home, and it is to say that if you can give anything, like please donate something. If you can't, I understand. There was a time where I couldn't. Spread the word. Get on the socials, however you do it. Let people know, and when you let them know, make it easy for them to give money. Send them a link or whatever. So I just want to implore all of those that can to do and spread the word. This is really important. Prairies are a big deal. I come from North Dakota, so I'm kind of a little biased to prairies. So in that vein, I did want to announce that Washington Bird Nature Alliance has decided to donate $1,000 to the effort, and we'll do that soon. And so we hope that that encourages our members and other folks in the community to step up and give something too. So that's all I got to say about that. I'll turn it over to questions. Do we have any questions about Sibley Prairie or the project? Yes, George, of course you do. Always great questions.
So can you tell us anything about the history of the site and how it is that this lakeplain prairie has persisted there?
Well, they started buying it in the 70s and 80s, the Fritz Enterprises. The family lived close by, and it's, you know, a very wet area. It's very wet in the spring, so that's why it was slow to develop. Unfortunately, they've created drains to drain it. Some parts are not as wet as they used to be. The state unfortunately allowed a development to go in right next to this. And once they put in a development, they put in basements, they put in sump pumps. It helps drain the area. So the hydrology is really important. And but there are some areas that are still relatively intact. There's about a 4 square mile area that has nice pockets of prairie. So that's what we're focusing on.
Have you had a chance to talk to any of the relevant state legislators about it?
Well, we've talked to the local legislators. Debbie Dingle's well aware of it. She's been involved in some of the meetings with the Fritz family. So we've met with the top officials at the DNR. We've met with people from Wayne County Parks. We were hoping one of them would apply. We were hoping the DNR would apply for a trust fund grant, because then you don't need a local match. But they were telling us they don't want the management responsibility, which is unfortunate because we would provide the money to manage it. But we decided, given their reluctance, the best shot was to work with Brownstown Township. And fortunately, they seem to be willing to apply for a grant. I just did a presentation to their trustees last night, and it was very positive. So we're offering to provide much of the local match for them. We're providing a $1 million endowment for them at minimum. So hopefully they will vote next month to apply. The deadline is April 1st. So it's an extensive grant application. If anybody's done a trust fund grant, they're burdensome. I wrote one for Superior Township 3 years ago, and it took me the better part of a month to do. Actually more than a month, because there's so many things you have to align up, from SEMCOG letters to public hearings, and so it's a lot of, they ask for too much information too. And this is a particularly tough one because there's actually 34 parcels involved. But I got the DNR to say, well, okay, you don't need to provide deeds for every single parcel, because that's one of the requirements. And they said, okay, we've got a title insurance policy. So a title commitment, so they're good with that.
Do we have an eBird hotspot set up for BirdSong yet? Is that something we would do?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? We do?
BirdSong, yeah.
Cool. Is it called BirdSong?
Yeah, BirdSong Nature Preserve.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I put it on there.
With this area being so close to Detroit Metro Airport, are the animals going to be disturbed by the sounds of the airplanes coming and going?
I don't believe so. Flight patterns don't go over this area too much. It's enough removed from the Metro Airport and their flight patterns that I don't think that we never hear any planes when we're there. So there's other areas that might be more affected, closer to the airport, but not this one.
Any of you ever interested in learning more about how sound affects animals? Come to one of my nature walks that's taking place near somewhere loud, and I'll tell you all about it.
Jack, would you let us know when you need some of us to come and do some bird surveys there? Because I would love to be involved in that.
Yeah, I would love to
Once-
get more people out there. We're trying not to bother the owner for too many times to visit it. But I found nesting woodcock right across the street, so we know they're there.
Nice.
So that's great. But
Hopefully, once we acquire it, you'll
Oh, once
want
we
to
acquire it,
have
for
some
sure.
people out there to
until we
survey
acquire
for
it,
you.
we're trying to limit the amount we're there. But the usual species we'll likely find there. So.
You raise your hand earlier?
Well, the same sort of thing. I was just wondering if there was any area out there that might be accessible.
Oh, yes, there is an existing preserve owned by Southeast Michigan Land Conservancy on King Road. It's just a half mile or a mile south of this property. And it has, it's the Sibley Prairie, West Prairie, and it's on King Road. And if you look up Sibley Prairie, West Prairie, it'll usually pop up. And they have a small parking lot there. There's about 4 acres of prairie there, but it's a nice spot, some nice vernal ponds. In fact, the photo of the blazing star was taken on that property.
Great.
Other questions about Sibley? Yes. There you go.
How do you see this linking up with the oak openings region that extends into Ohio, and what they're doing there?
Well, it's just a one remaining remnant of that. So people from the oak openings have been very involved in this. In fact, the Nature Conservancy, the office that manages Kitty Todd, they've been involved, and Pete Blank has been involved. He's involved with our stewardship committee, and they have already done some work on the land owned by Southeast Michigan Land Conservancy. So, and they have offered to help restore this for the first 3 to 5 years. They want to be compensated for that, but they've offered to play that role. So we're going to take them up on that, if that comes through.
Any other questions? I've got one. For maybe potential folks in the room or part of organizations that would be interested in becoming part of the coalition, how does one do that?
Well, we just have very simple expectations, I guess. We don't have any formal, hard and fast rules, but we ask people to, help as best they can. We do suggest an minimum 6,000 contribution, or recruiting members to contribute. Some are putting in more, and some are putting in less. So, and we ask people to either serve on a representative to either serve on a committee or attend our monthly steering committee meetings, so you know what's going on.
Right.
So we just ask people to help as best they can. So
That's great. Yes, one more question.
Would you consider giving talks like this in other settings and doing more talks
yeah,
like this?
we plan to do that, and not just me, but we have a number of people that are getting ready to take the show on the road, so to speak, and we'll be at tabling events. We'll be at different conferences. We had some people up at the Stewardship Network conference to pass out info, and we were hoping that it would be announced more prominently, but they did make some contacts up there. So we've every time we get a newspaper article, we get more contributions in. We've had a good amount of media coverage. Fox 2 had a nice program that was we had about 20 minutes of that on Sibley Prairie, so we got some from that. So we need some social media influencers out there that really push to millions of people this is an opportunity, and help out a little bit. We could use that support.
Anything, any influencers in the room? I don't recognize any of you.
Yeah, I'm not, that's not my role, that's for sure.
I wouldn't recognize you.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, and please help if you can, and if you have any other questions, well, go to savesibleyprairie.org, and you can email questions or comments or suggestions of who we might contact for support, financial or otherwise.
Well, thank you, Jack, and thank you all for coming. What a great crowd, great questions. See you next month. Thank you.